Okay, so you know how everyone always talks about wanting their tax dollars to be used properly?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, who doesn't want to see the government spending our money efficiently?
Exactly right. So when Elon Musk started up this DOGE office promising to slash government waste, it definitely caught my eye. I mean, I don't know about you, but like
Yeah, I was intrigued.
totally intrigued, right?
Yeah.
Like here's this guy known for shaking things up in tech, and now he's taking on government bureaucracy and all this waste. So like,
And it sounds like a recipe for some serious fireworks.
right, potentially huge impact, but also potentially a huge mess. So of course we had to dig into this.
That's what we do here.
That's what we
Yeah.
do. We take these big stories and give you the unfiltered truth without all the noise and hype.
The stuff that really matters so you can actually understand what's going on.
Perfect. So today we're diving deep into the DOGE office, specifically their budget and the claims they've been making about all these savings they found. And we're basing this deep dive on a Ring of Fire video transcript. They did a pretty thorough breakdown of what's been happening with this whole thing. So
They really got into the weeds.
they did. And we're going to take you through it all. But just to set the stage right off the bat, the central irony of this whole situation is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
You have this office was literally created to reduce wasteful government spending.
Cut the fat, trim the excess.
Right. And what do?
Will their own budget explode?
Their own budget explodes and more than doubled.
More than doubled.
In just about 3 weeks. I mean, we're talking from January 3rd to February 8th. Their budget went from $6.75 million to $14.4 million.
That's not exactly a picture of fiscal restraint, is it?
It's not, I mean, imagine you hire a financial advisor to help you get your spending under control.
Right. Consolidate debt, make smart investments.
Yeah, and the first thing they do is double their own fees. That wouldn't exactly inspire confidence, would it?
No, not at all. And this is where it gets even more interesting. The transcript goes into how this extra $8 million is supposedly being used.
Oh,
And
that's pretty specific.
they're basically saying they're using this money to hire a bunch of teenagers and people in their early 20s to use AI.
Yeah.
Yep. Artificial intelligence to detect fraud within Social Security.
Wow. Okay, so they're unleashing the Gen Z tech wizards on Social Security fraud.
Essentially, that's what it sounds like. And the idea is they're using AI to look for things like double payments or benefits being claimed by people who are deceased.
So basically making sure that dead people aren't collecting Social Security.
Which seems like a worthwhile goal in theory.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Hmm.
But you have to wonder if this is really the most efficient way to do it. Is an $8 million budget increase really justified for this specific task?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The $8 million question, because the transcript kind of hints at this too. But the cost of these AI subscriptions, the kind of platforms and services they'd be using to do this kind of fraud detection, it's not exactly $8 million.
No, I mean, you can get pretty sophisticated AI tools for a fraction of that cost. So it really makes you question what exactly is going on with this budget increase. Are they building some sort of AI command center?
Top secret lair for teenage hackers.
Yeah, exactly. Are they outfitting them with like custom gaming chairs and VR headsets?
It's possible. I mean, we don't know for sure, but it does seem a little excessive for what they're describing.
Yeah, a bit. And that brings us to the really big numbers, the ones that Elon Musk himself has been touting. He's claiming that the DOGE office is saving the government $1 billion per day.
$1 billion per day.
Per day. And that they've already achieved a total of $1 billion in savings so far.
Now, those are some eye-popping figures.
They are definitely attention-grabbing. But as with anything involving big numbers and government finances, we need to look a little closer.
Peel back the layers.
Exactly. And that's where the Ring of Fire transcript really helps break things down, because they make a really important distinction between a one-time saving and a recurring daily saving.
Right. It's like that old saying, a penny saved is a penny earned. But the key there is that it's only a penny earned once.
Exactly. You save that penny one time. It doesn't mean you're magically earning a penny every single day from then on.
And that seems to be the kind of logic that's being applied here with these claims of $1 billion in savings per day.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, okay, we cut this one expense by $1 billion, so now we're saving $1 billion every day.
But that's not how it works, and the transcript also points out that the methods they're citing for these supposed savings are a little suspect.
Like, what are they actually doing to save all this money?
Well, they're talking about things like a hiring freeze and canceling building leases.
Okay, so freezing hiring and getting out of some leases.
Oh. Yeah, and on the surface, that might sound like it could save some money.
Yeah, potentially.
But the question is how much and how quickly? Because if you're freezing hiring for positions that haven't even been filled yet.
Right, so they're not even spending money on those positions yet.
Exactly. So it's not like they're immediately saving millions of dollars by doing that. They're just avoiding future costs. And then with the building leases, it's a similar story. They're talking about canceling leases for buildings that were intended for future use.
So buildings that they weren't even occupying yet.
Right. So again, it's more about preventing future expenses, not necessarily cutting current spending. And even if they were canceling leases for buildings they were actively using.
Would those leases really add up to $1 billion?
That's a lot of office space, and it's highly unlikely that they would have been paying $1 billion in rent in such a short time frame. So it really feels like they're inflating these savings figures.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to make it sound way more impressive than it actually is.
It's all about the headlines, isn't it?
Totally. And then we get to what the DOGE office has actually presented as concrete evidence of their success. These supposedly egregious examples of wasteful spending that they've uncovered. And this is where the Ring of Fire transcript gets pretty blunt. They call them completely and totally fraudulent talking points.
Fraudulent talking points.
Not necessarily fraudulent spending itself, but the claims they're making about the spending are just plain wrong.
And they focus on two specific examples that really caught the public's attention. The first one being this alleged $8 million payment to Politico.
Right, this idea that $8 million of taxpayer money was just funneled straight to Politico.
Yeah, which obviously sounds pretty shady.
Totally. But the reality, according to the transcript, is that the total spending by the entire federal government, including individual lawmakers, on Politico Pro subscriptions.
So not just some big lump sum payment, but all the individual subscriptions combined.
Yeah, all of them amounted to approximately $44,000.
$44,000?
Not $8 million, $44,000.
So we're talking about a difference of over $7.9 million.
It's not even close.
It's not even in the same ballpark, and the transcript even goes into the specifics. They say that an individual Politico Pro subscription costs around $7,000. So even if you had a bunch of lawmakers with these subscriptions.
Which they do. Apparently, even people like Lauren Boebert have them. It's not going to add up to $8 million.
No, it just doesn't. And it really highlights how easily these numbers can be distorted to create a certain narrative.
Yeah, they took a relatively small expense, blew it way out of proportion, and presented it as this massive scandal.
And the second example is even more striking.
Yeah, the infamous claim that $59 million was spent on condoms for Hamas in Gaza.
Right, that one really made waves.
It did. But as the transcript clarifies, the actual spending was for the Gaza province of Mozambique.
Mozambique, not Gaza.
Totally different country. And the purpose was for public health initiatives to prevent the spread of STIs.
So not for Hamas, not for a terrorist organization, but for a legitimate public health program.
And in a completely different part of the world. So again, they took a real government expenditure, twisted the facts, and presented it as something completely different.
And it's important to emphasize that the issue here isn't necessarily with the original spending itself, it's with the misinformation that's being spread about it.
Exactly. They're creating this narrative of rampant waste and corruption, but the evidence just doesn't back it up.
And this brings us to the current state of affairs as the Ring of Fire transcript lays it out.
So let's recap. We have an office that was created specifically to cut government waste, but their own budget has more than doubled in a matter of weeks. We have these grand pronouncements of savings that don't really hold up under scrutiny, and the two main examples they've given of wasteful spending that they've supposedly uncovered have been proven to be false.
It's a bit of a head-scratcher, isn't it?
It is, and it really raises some important questions about how we measure the success of these kinds of initiatives. Are we just looking at how much money they're spending, or are we actually looking at the results? Are they actually reducing waste, or are they just creating a lot of noise?
Right, because the way it looks right now, it's a lot of fanfare, but not a lot of substance. And this is something that we should all be thinking about as citizens. How do we hold our government accountable for actually being efficient and responsible with our tax dollars?
Exactly, because if an office dedicated to cutting waste can't even get its own spending under control, and if they're more focused on creating headlines than actual results, then what does that say about the bigger picture?
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And it really underscores the importance of being informed, being critical of the information we're being given, and asking tough questions.
Yeah, absolutely, because the truth is often more complicated than it seems.
So there you have it, folks, our deep dive into the DOGE office. Hopefully this has given you a clearer understanding of the situation and all its complexities.
And maybe even sparked some further thought and investigation on your own.
Because that's what it's all about, right? Being engaged, being informed, and holding our leaders accountable.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Until then, stay curious, stay informed.
And keep asking those tough questions.
Absolutely.
See you later.